Hi there, wisdom walkers. And to you newbies out there, thanks for visiting my channel. I appreciate it. This is Life Lessons Learned. This video, it may be challenging for some people. It's because we'll be talking about boundaries with our parents, specifically our mothers. And the reason for that one is, as you can see, I'm a female. I also happen to be a mother, but lo and behold, I had a mother. So we're going to talk about how difficult or challenging it can be for some people once they've become adults, because I definitely do not advocate children telling their parents no. I mean, it probably would be appropriate in some instances, depending on what the event is or what's occurring, but that's another whole issue. Now, I'm going to talk to you about how I came to this conclusion for myself and where it all kind of started. Because honestly, with me, if you watched any of my other videos, you'll know that in my youth, I was always trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, no matter what the situation was. And sometimes I would see decisions that my mom had made or rendered within the family unit that for me, I was like, I would have made a different decision on that. Now, of course, all kids would say that. My mom did this and I wish she had done that. But seriously speaking, my thing was always looking at a more universal, peaceful way to resolve conflict and to communicate with people and to treat people. So, that being said, I'm going to share a few instances in my life where, I realized what I needed to do and with the different dynamics of the relationships that I had, whether they were with my siblings or neighbors or friends or coworkers, lovers. Okay, I didn't have a lot of lovers, but okay. So I'm going to share with you a few things that occurred so you can kind of get the gist of why this whole thing about setting boundaries had to be done in some cases. And maybe you may feel like in your case, there's something to consider. So, in the first, well, let me say this. If you saw the video series that I had earlier on this channel regarding my um, marriage realization that that was going to be over, you'll recall that my mom had at one point went with my husband, now ex-husband, of course, to co-sign for a car for him. And this was someone that wasn't, he hadn't worked for 6 or 7 years and had just gotten a job and it wasn't a high paying one. He didn't have good credit, but all of that is fine. My thing was, I am not responsible for the decision or the choices you make with another party. That's an agreement between the two of you. Okay, so let's just say that up front. Um, I would have been able to have co-signed for him because I kept my credit up. I paid my bills. I worked. But my thing is, this is me, okay? But who else would it be? If someone is in their 30s and they need a cosigner, that tells you that they don't pay their bills or they don't honor their credit or their name or anything like that. Now, that was back in the day. In today's society, almost everyone needs cosigners because the cost of living is ridiculous. Jobs are scarce. Employers don't want to compensate you properly, and all of that is going on. I mean, people can barely get rent and food now these days, but I'm talking back in the day when jobs were plentiful. People were able to be gainfully employed if they so chose, and rent and cost of living and food was not astronomical. Okay, so keep that in mind. Well, if you saw that video, you'll see what the outcome of that was, with, of course, him not paying and then siblings trying to call me and bully me, telling me I should pay it because she signed for him. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. She signed for him, not for me. Okay, so unless you want to pay that debt off, don't freaking call my phone. But you'll have to watch that video. But when I just moved from home at 18. And if you saw those other videos, it wasn't really a move. My mom had the rule 18 and out. Okay. So once you got 18, you had to, be out on your own. I'm fine with that. It made me a better person. But because of that, I had been saving. I worked when I was in high school and everything, so I had some savings. It wasn't like I was out on the street or begging for food. In fact, I had enough savings that I was able to give two of my siblings who had also been remanded to leave the home that night cash so they could have a hotel room or have something to bide them over until they can figure out what to do. I digress because that has nothing to do with this whole mother boundary thing, but it's getting to the point so you can see where all of this came together. So I had bought myself a new car and got myself a place. I was staying at the Y back in the day, so it's the YWCA, and I worked downtown. I lived downtown, all of that. But when I bought my new car, one day my mom called me up and she wanted to know if she could borrow my car. Now, just so you know, my mother had her own car. Okay, stay with me here. And but my car was a brand new one, so it wasn't a used car or anything like that. And my mother had a vehicle that was probably 6 or 7 years old, but it was a good car. It was a Lincoln Continental. But she asked if she could borrow my car because she wanted to be in a new car, and she wanted her and this guy she was dating to be in a new car. And I'm okay. This is my mom, right? I'm like, I'm okay with that. So I drove my car to her place, and she told me they were going to go to a movie that night, and then she'll bring me the car back the next day, which is all fine. So she took me back home, and it was the weekend, so I didn't have to use my car to get up and go to work the next day. So that was really cool. Well, let me say it was Friday. So then they went to the movie Friday night. Saturday, I don't hear from my mom. I'm like, okay, I'm hoping everything is okay in my new car. I had insurance, so that was good. But I didn't hear from her for a while. And when you go to a movie late at night, sometimes you may get up. It's the weekend. You probably get up later and everything. So I wasn't really concerned. I was like, okay, well, she knows she has the car, so she'll have to come get you so you can take her back home. It got later in the afternoon and then almost toward the evening. So I called her. I was like, hey, mom, what's going on? Hello. It's not like you don't remember you have my car. And she was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And I was like, I was waiting for you to let me know when you were going to come by to pick me up to get my car." And she says, "Well, I don't feel like doing that." Okay. I didn't feel like loaning it either, but here we are. So I said, "Well, then I won't say his real name, but I'll just say Billy Bob Thornton. Have Billy Bob drop it off. I don't care who drops it off. I can just get him back home." And she was like, "Well, he's not here right now." So I was like, "Well, okay, but I'm going to be needing my car." And she said, "Well, don't worry about it. It's Saturday. You don't have to go to work until Monday. I can bring it Sunday." And I thought about it and I was like, well, I'm not going anywhere. It's not like I party at 18. Well, lots of people party at 16, 17, and 18. But again, we're talking me, okay? Nerdy, do the right thing, Sherry. So I was like, okay, no big deal. I mean, I'll just, chill and wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow came, which was Sunday. The next day would be Monday. I would have to have my car. So still didn't hear from her. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I was like, if I fall for that trick again about I'll bring it, I'm going to wind up being late to work because I wouldn't have my car. So I called her and I was like, hey, what time were you guys planning on coming by? And she said, I am just so tired. Why don't you just come and pick up your car? Because you have the car. So, yeah. But when people say stories like this, I'm like, okay, so if you were 18 or 19, and at this time I was 18, are you saying that for 18 years you didn't know who you were dealing with? Okay, we know the patterns. We've seen how they react and act. Should we be surprised? Should we be shocked? Or should we just be like, okay, this is about right? So if you saw the video that I talked about with my dad asking me, will he give me away at my wedding? I was like, you already gave me away. I'm like, I already know your pattern. Why would I act like I don't know it with my mom? So I said, okay, I see where this is going. So you guessed it. I got on a bus. I had to catch a bus to go to my mom's house to pick up my car. Yeah, let that sink in. So I did. I went to her house and she was like chilling like a villain, watching TV, sitting there smoking. I mean, there's nothing wrong with smoking, especially back in the day. Every movie had all the actors smoked and drank and everything else. Not that I'm making excuses for it, but I'm like, people smoked. So, and I forgot to tell you, and part of this story was I told them that they couldn't smoke in my car because I had a new car. I do not smoke. I didn't want to smell the smoke in it. So they did honor that because I didn't smell any smoke in it. But anyway, I was went on and got my car. You know, I visited with her for a few minutes because I'm, what are you going to do? Just come in and say, give me the keys. I want my car back. Some people probably would have, but I did. I'm a peaceful person. So anyway, I got my car and got it home. And as I was parking it, you know, it wasn't damaged, so I don't want to give the impression that they had an accident or anything like that. But as I was parking it, I noticed that there was some popcorn on the passenger seat, but not like right on the seat. It was like, you know how your seat cushion goes down and things can get stuck in there like combs or brushes or pins or something like that. It was kind of peeking out like that. So I dug my hand down in there, and you have to remember this was a new car. So, everything is kind of tight. It's not like it's loose or anything like that. So I, you know, pushed the seating part down, and then I reached, in there to get that popcorn out. And you guys, yeah, there was a lot of popcorn stuffed down on the inside of the cushion of that car. Now, I'm not going to do a Columbo on this, but in order for it to get that deep in there on a new car where the cushions are tight, someone would have to have put it there. Okay. I'm not the popcorn police, but come on. So then I checked my seat, which was the driver's seat, of course, and that one had popcorn stuff down in there as well, which just makes no sense. Okay. But that's fine. So that was just an incident. And of course, whenever my mom called to ask if she could borrow my car, I told her that I wouldn't be loaning it out anymore because I didn't want to say the popcorn police wrote a ticket out for the popcorn that was stuffed in the cushions, but I just told her I didn't feel comfortable, which wasn't a lie, okay, with her asking to use it, especially since she had her own transportation. I mean, if they wanted to stuff popcorn down the seats, they could have done it in her Lincoln Continental. I'm just saying. I'm not even trying to be mean or anything. I'm just thinking out the box here. So that was an incident where I was like, okay, it's okay for us to have boundaries with parents when I don't want to say cross the line because who's going to say my parents crossed the line? But cross the line is what they did, okay? So later on in life, that was when the incident happened with the ex and she's co-signing and he's not paying. And I was like, that's why you have to co-sign because he didn't pay his own stuff. So I, had a couple of siblings that called me and said, if I were you, there's no way I would be with someone that owes my mom money and I don't make them pay. And I said, "Oh, okay, then since you feel that strongly about it, if I were you, I would go ahead and pay that for my mother. And then that way that there won't be any outstanding bills. But again, you can see that video on its own. Now, later on in life, as I got divorced from the ex that didn't pay anything, and as I, had my girls myself, my I lived in a different city, so I did move from the city of Detroit to Lansing, Michigan. So it's not really far. It's like maybe at the most 55-minute drive. Okay, some people say, "Heck, that's an hour." Okay, an hour away. But my mother came to visit me one day, and whenever people would visit me, I knew that they were coming, so I never had people just come over to my house because if people did that, they would probably just not get let in. So they knew these things. I'm like, I'm not expecting you. don't show up. That's just me. But anyway, I was expecting her and everything, and she came to visit with us. And remember, I said when I went to pick up my car, she was just sitting there chilling like a villain, watching TV and smoking. But she hadn't given up the smoking habit at this point in her life. And she smoked a lot. And back in the day, a lot of people did. I mean, you heard the phrase smoke like a chimney, okay, or drink like a fish. So, yeah, that's another story. But so she came over, and because again, I don't smoke. I don't want it. I didn't allow people to smoke in my house, because it gets in your curtains, your carpet, your furniture, if you're not a smoker, you get it. So, she was going to be there for a while because she had driven from Detroit to Lansing. So it wasn't like she wasn't going to smoke at all. But I told her she could do so, but she would have to do it outside. And this was during like June or July. So it wasn't like in the dead of winter where I'm sending her out to slip and slide on ice while she's trying to get a smoke. So, and she said she was okay with that. There was no problem with that. She was like, "Oh, okay, no, no big deal." And plus, one of my daughters at the time, we weren't sure if she were asthmatic or not, and it just wasn't worth her having people come and smoke in my house. So we had a nice visit and no issues, no problems. And then my mother got back on the road and went back home. About 2.5 hours after she got home, I get a call from, let's just say, one of the siblings. Okay. And this person was irate. They were like, I picked up the phone, and this is before call, we didn't have cell phones, so they were landlines. So you don't know who's calling you until you pick up the line and talk to them. But anyway, I don't know why I'm being so dramatic on this one, but we're talking about boundaries with parents, so maybe it deserves to be dramatic. So I, pick up the phone and say hello, and this person doesn't say hello or anything. They say, "Who the F do you think you are telling mom she can't smoke in your house?" And I was like, "Yeah, me and the girls are doing fine. Thank you for asking." Jackass. And I was like, "What?" He, this person says, "Don't what me. You heard what I said. Mom told me she visited you and you made her go outside to smoke." And I said, "Yeah, that's right, because she was in my house. So she has to go by my rules. And my rule is no smoking in the house." Hello. So he said, "I cannot believe that you would do that." And I said, "So when she goes to your house, does she smoke in your house?" "Well, yeah, she could smoke anywhere in my house if she want to. I don't care where she smokes." I said, "Well, good for you. So you have rules and regulations for your house?" Silence. I said, "Because I have rules and regulations for mine, and neither you nor she would tell me which of my rules they're not going to adhere to. They would be getting the hell out. Okay, that's how I roll." I said, "Now, if you want her smoking in your house and being in your area with that, then that's fine. I'm not going to call you and tell you, who do you think you are letting her smoke in that house? That's your house." So, no, that's not going to fly well with me. And I can tell you that, as you guys all know, I think I say this in every video. Usually, when confrontation or chaos comes into my life, it comes from the outside with someone coming to me with their BS. Okay. I don't go around telling people what they should do in their house, but I don't allow people to tell me what to do in mine either. So, and that's always been the way it's been with me, whether it's drama at work, it's like, I'm at my desk, mind you, my business. Now, you guys want to come and ask my opinion on something that's going on across the way in the West Wing. I'm not interested in that, okay? My name is West. I'm not in that mess. So, um, so that happened. And then after my conversation with that person, I called my mom. Yeah, because again, I'm upfront, not mean, but I will be. Uh, I'm just not gonna let things, go by or fly by without me mentioning it or bringing it to the forefront. So I know some people say you're brutally honest. What's brutal about honesty, right? I mean, you could be mean with it, then that would be brutal. But my thing is, what the hell? Aren't we all grown at this point? So I just called her and I said, hey, what's going on? And she was like, oh, honey, I made it home safe. I said, oh, I know you did. She said, what do you mean by that? I said, so and so called me and cursed me out about me not allowing you to smoke in my house. And she said, what? I said, oh, I'm sure you're not surprised because I'm sure when you told this person, they told you they were going to call me and you probably were okay with that, which is fine. She's okay with what she's okay with, and I'm okay with what I'm okay with. I said, but I just wanted to let you know, to let that person know that, and the reason why I called her was because this person had gotten so upset with me that they hung up the phone. And I'm like, way to be an adult. You said something I don't like, so now I'm gonna hang up on you. Okay, it'll be the last time you hang up on me. Trust me on that. But I said, so let him know that the next time he calls my house cursing me out, I will get in my new car and drive to Detroit and I would meet him at his place. So just so the two of you know, that's not acceptable. So she was like, "Oh, I didn't think they would do that, and I'm sorry." I was like, "You can't apologize for someone else's actions or behaviors." But I told these tales to let you know the type of dynamics I was working with, and as you guys know, I say 99.9% of what happens to us happens for one of three reasons. We either allow it, promote it, or create it. And all we have to do is decide which of the three we're doing. Are we allowing it? Are we promote? And when I say allow it, I'm going to go into that as well, and even in more detail in an upcoming video. But like, say I had this person that was speaking to me recently, and I said that allow, promote, create thing, and most people do not want to be accountable for their decisions or indecision. They don't want to be responsible or accountable for their actions or their part in what's going on in their lives. And so they start saying, well, I didn't allow, promote, or create it. Well, you have to be doing one of the three because otherwise it wouldn't be happening in your life. Hello. So this particular person had told me, and this is just for an example here, that, well, I didn't allow, she said, I didn't allow, promote, or create a situation where I will have a job, an 8-hour job, and my boss doesn't give me a lunch hour. And I said, but you allowed that. That's not even legal. So if you continue to work there and you continue to be okay with not getting the lunch hour, you can't say that you created that for yourself, but you allowed it and promoted it by continuing to stay in that position. So it's not being mean to just open your eyes and say, which of these are you doing? Because guess what? That boss or that manager doesn't give a damn if you get a lunch or not. So they don't care about what you're promoting or creating or allowing. But if it's impacting you in a negative way, it's up to you to make that change, make a choice, make a decision, do some action instead of having inaction and then saying nothing is your fault in your life. But anyway, I'm going off into a whole new different tandem, which I didn't want to do. But it is okay if you've had experiences with your parents. And I'm saying parents, but like again, I said this one was dealing directly with like mothers and daughters or sons and mothers. Um, it could be mothers and fathers or sons and fathers, but you get the gist of being able to say no and meaning that and being okay with that. You don't have to feel bad about it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to tell people who called to curse you out why you made the decision you made for your household. Hello. You- I don't get it. So I want to say, you guys know my mantra knowledge is in the knowing, but wisdom is in the doing. And the true learning of a lesson is the application of it. So this is Sherry Brantley. This channel is Life Lessons Learned. I want to certainly thank my wisdom walkers for returning as usual. Please leave some comments, you guys, on these videos. I really want to see what your experiences are, what your solutions were, or if things were resolved or not. So again, for those that are new here, If you're so inclined, please subscribe. I would love to see you return. And I'm going to wish you all a great day. Thank you. Bye bye.